Haribol, everyone. Violetta and Aman, looking forward to seeing you all. And Manasigangan Dharma, Jai, and Vasanta, Jai, Anantashesha. Miss you a lot. Guru Das Ji, Haribol. Who else am I missing? God, how do I get to everybody else? Okay. Hare Krishna, Tri Bhuvaneshwari, and Gai Gaura, Haribol, Arjuna, Jai. Okay, here's the poem. It's called Cuba. Are you ready?
Yes,
okay. Land of the greatest potential, where the prime influential is the salsa beat Spanish jig, where relationships are big, life's a bit laid back. You are tempted to snack, but if you pursue, there's a lot to do. Under an enthusing sun, much can get done. Rum, you will know, beneath ceilings not low, space seems to matter. I think room for rum is better. The colors, the textures, and lavish architecture does not go to sleep, but a yearning for an upkeep. Banana trees do dance, those exotic broadleaf plants flirt with brother avocado in the Atlantic wind bravado. The tocororo and cigar are indisputably by far the icons of the place where life's modest pace, challenges an eager Raphael who can taxi you to, well, anywhere in his 52 Chevrolet with Toyota engine on display. But I prefer to walk Havana's Malecon and dock. The car exhausts to take, always a breathing break. There, lovers do ponder, yet I do wander with beads in hand near a Cuban beach stand. People are sweet, sweet, sweet. Many, though, feel utter defeat. They are leaving. Hare Krishna. It's a little bit of a sad note at the end, but I'm just telling the truth. Haribol. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.
Okay, let's get on with the show. We'll do our pranams to Prabhupada, Panchatattva, and Radha Krishna, and then we'll get on to page 1 from the introduction of Bhagavad Gita. If we could all do this together. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya
Krishna Krishna Budle
Srimate
Srimate Bhakti
Bhaktivedanta
Vedanta
Swamini
Swamine
Pranamane
Namane
Namaste
Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani
Gauravani
Pacharine
Vacharine
Nirvishesha
Nirvishesha
Shunyavadi
Shunyavadi Paschatya
Paschatya
Deshatarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda
Nityananda
Shri
Sri
Advaita
Advaita
Gadadhar
Gadadhar
Srivas
Srivasari
Adi
Gaura
Gaura
Bhakta
Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna
Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Hare Krishna
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Hare
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 Rama
Rama Hare Rama
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 Rama Hare
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 Hare. I thank you very much. Om Agyana Timarandasya
Om Jnanatimanandasya
Yananjana Shalakaya
Jananjala Shlakaya
Chakshurun Militam Yena
Chakshuram Militam Yena
Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha.
Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha.
I was born in the darkest ignorance.
I was born in the darkest ignorance.
And my spiritual master opened my eyes.
And my spiritual master opened my eyes
with the torch of knowledge.
With the torch of knowledge.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
I offer my respectful obeisances unto him.
Srila Prabhupada Ki.
Jai.
Thank you very much. Our host, Vaishnavi, is going to tell us where we belong. 1848. We're getting up there. Oh my God. 1848. All right. Okay, here we go. I'll do the Sanskrit and the English, and then we've got enough material here that about 6 people could read. Would that make sense? Vaishnavi?
Yes, Maharaj.
Okay, do you want to give us the names of those people right now? Maybe the people who joined first, perhaps.
Naman, Ritam, and Violeta, Gurudas, Vasanta, and Purna Chandra. Are you able to read? Manasi Ganga.
Mataji, I cannot read. I'm picking my grandkids from school.
Okay, all right.
Oh.
Manasi Ganga and Arjuna, if you can read. Otherwise, I will read.
Okay, great. Sahajang karma kaunteya sadosham apina chajit sarvaramba idoshena duminagnir ivavrita. Translation. Every endeavor is covered by some fault, just as fire is covered by smoke. Therefore, one should not give up the work born of his nature, O son of Kunti, even if such work is full of fault. Hare Krishna. All right, so let's go on with the purport.
In conditioned life, all work is contaminated by the material modes of nature. Even if one is a Brahmana, he has to perform sacrifices in which animal killing is necessary. Similarly, a Kshatriya, however pious he may be, has to fight enemies. He cannot avoid it.
Thank
Similar-
you. Good. Very good. Good stuff. Next.
Similarly, a merchant, however pious may he be, must sometimes hide his profit to stay in business, or he may sometimes have to do business on the black market. These things are necessary. One cannot avoid them. Similarly, even though a man is a Shudra serving a bad master, he has to carry out the order of the master, even though it should not be done. Despite these flaws, one should continue to carry out his prescribed duties, for they are born out of his own nature.
Thank you. Next.
A very nice example is given herein. Although fire is pure, still there is smoke. Yet smoke does not make the fire impure. Even though there is smoke in the fire, fire is still considered to be the purest of all elements. If one prefers to give up the work of a Kshatriya and take up the occupation of a Brahmana, he is not assured that in the occupation of a Brahmana there are no unpleasant duties.
Jai, thank you.
One may then conclude that in the material world, no one can be completely free from the contamination of material nature. This example of fire and smoke is very appropriate in this connection. When in wintertime one takes a stone from the fire, sometimes smoke disturbs the eyes and other parts of the body, but still one must make use of the fire despite disturbing conditions.
Thank you. Great.
Similarly, one should not give up his natural occupation because there are some disturbing elements. Rather, one should be determined to serve the Supreme Lord by his occupational duty in Krishna consciousness. That is the perfectional point. When a particular type of occupation is performed for the satisfaction of Supreme Lord, all the defects in that particular occupation are purified. When the results of work are purified, when connected with devotional service, one becomes perfect in seeing the self within, and that is self-realization. Hare Krishna.
Good reading from everyone. We have one person left on the list, right?
Yes, Maharaj.
Could you just read the verse again, please?
Yes, Maharaj. Hare Krishna. Sahajam karma kaunteya
No. Please just read the verse, the English verse.
Translate.
Every endeavor.
Yes.
Every endeavor is covered by some fault.
Every endeavor is covered by some fault, just as fire is covered by smoke. Therefore, one should not give up the work born of his nature, O son of Kunti, even if such work is full of fault.
Thank you so much. Did we miss somebody on the list?
Maybe Arjuna, we can do next time.
I'll read, I guess, the next one. Thanks.
Yeah, he's also driving. So it's okay.
Okay, that's great. As long as you don't drive us crazy. Hare Krishna. Hare. Thank you very much. Okay, so it's a good stuff. I think this verse resonates with everybody. It's very encouraging, I would say. To me, I get uplifted and I get hope from reading verses like this. Why? Because, well, it just says that, you know, if you've got an ego, then you'll say, I'm perfect. But if we're a little bit realistic with ourselves and honest with ourselves, we'll actually say, well, you know, I can't do anything perfect. I'm not God. I'm not Bhagawan. So it's a beautiful image. Fire is covered by smoke. That means that, you know, the smoke is there and it creates some kind of haziness, you know, it obscures clear vision. And so whatever we attempt to do in this world has its errors, you know. To err is human. Maybe you've heard that expression. And Prabhupada used that also. To err is human. And so nothing is perfect, that's for sure, because we're not complete. We are part of the incomplete, but we're not complete. And this is our philosophy. We are just not whole. We are just part and parcel, fragmental parts and parcels. And because of that, we're not complete. I like one thing that Prabhupada did, Chitananda Prabhu, who lives there at the in the Alachua community. You know, he wrote or read or spoke about. Once Prabhupada was saying he was trying to demonstrate how we are part of a greater thing, and he took his tongue and he licked his wrist. He went like this, and he was saying, "So I'm licking here and I'm getting some salt, but I am not the ocean. So the ocean is full of salt, and maybe if you lick anywhere in your body, you might get some salty sensation. So it just doesn't mean that just because there's some little bit of a portion of salt that we are the ocean." And so because of that tendency, we talk about the infinite and infinitesimal, because we are just a little piece of, we can never be the whole, and therefore we cannot be perfect. We can be a sample of the perfect, but because of our limitations, we cannot be perfect. So that's why I like it. You know, whatever you do, there's going to be some mistake. And let's say you've done a presentation in front of a group of people, and you thought you did pretty good, right? And then when it comes to the feedback, when it comes to the, let's say, an assessment of your work, that, yeah, you did really good, but, you know, I would tweak it a little bit in this area, that, you know, we missed your joke. You were a little bit quiet here. We couldn't hear that. Or there were too many in your presentation, you know. Toastmasters does this, you know. I was once invited to a Toastmaster session in Vancouver years and years ago, and I got a fairly good rating, and but they liked whatever jokes I put out there. I can't even remember the topic, the subject, but they just gave some feedback, and I can't even remember what it was. I should remember where I was weak, right? Because then you can improve. So if someone comes across to remind you that, you know, you could improve in certain areas here, we shouldn't take it personally. We should take it as a voice of God, Krishna speaking, and we say, yeah, I need, there's room for improvement. I need to do better in a certain area. And because I want to get better. And even if I get better, I'll never get perfect. I remember one particular person who spent all time here. He was from Europe and here in Toronto at our ashram. And he was going to university. They had a course that, you know, involving mathematics or philosophy or both things together. And he got like, I think it was a 97 average. He got marked like that. And he was so disturbed, like psychologically disturbed. He actually took her to another level of educational administration. And he felt he deserved like 99. You know, it wasn't good enough. And, you know, I was trying to say to him, you know, listen, you did okay. I tried to pat him on the back and, you know, but because of some psychological conditioning in him, he just felt that he should get a better mark. And he was almost falling apart because of it. I never saw anything like it in my whole life. So we should expect some mistakes. And so some people point the flaws out in Krishna as well. Like Gandhari, she says, you made a mistake. You offended my family. So therefore, you will suffer. And you made some mistakes. And so then what do you call, a tsunami came and engulfed the city of Dwarka, you know, which Krishna established. So even Krishna sometimes gets criticized, and he can tolerate it up to a point, as you all know. Shishupal insulted him like anything at the Rajasuya Yagya, I believe it was. And Shishupal just went on and on and on, saying he should not be the guest of honor because of this and that and this and that. And Krishna had determined that this man is just over the top. He's just too much. I don't mind getting some criticism. I don't mind people finding fault with me. But if he just keeps at it, and if it's beyond the 99th remark, I'll take some action. So Shishupal just went at it. And, you know, fault finders are like that. There's no limit to their screaming and yelling and ranting. And so it was 99. And when the 100th one came out, remark of high criticism against Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Krishna, who carries a few different articles with him. One is called the Sharp Chakra. He released that, and that was his end. Okay, so it's not that Krishna won't take any fault when somebody goes overboard. It's just too much. And I would just like to add this one point. I had a good friend of mine, a god brother, who lives in Florida. And he says, what do you think about this? You know, some rambling going on the internet, you know, and all about fault finding. And what's your take on it? What's the GBC position on it? And I just got back to him and said, you know, I don't have a stomach for this kind of thing. I don't believe Prabhupada wanted us to find fault. I believe he wanted us to move forward with a spirit of devotion, maybe a positive thinker. That's what he did for us. He showed us the way by the way he behaved, and that he was always an optimist. So I just clearly said to my god brother, I don't think what you're getting involved in is what Prabhupada wants us to do. Even if there's some fault, so be it. Who's perfect? Let us move forward and look at the bright side of things. So that's, I was quite brief and blunt, maybe even. I just felt that very strongly that I'm not going to get pulled into, you know, the fault finding culture, the culture of the fly, going to the pus. but I believe that our culture is more about, the bee going to the essence of the flower and, perhaps making some honey out of it after as a result of it. Hare Krishna. Any comments, questions? What do you propose fault finding? You probably sometimes hear about it from devotees. Is it nurturing? Is it productive? Does it bring out the truth? Maybe partial, but again, part and parcel is not the whole. You have to look at the whole. Okay. Any comments?
So sometimes I hear devotees use this principle of not fault finding for criminal activities as well. Sometimes I hear devotees saying, "Oh no, all these people who had committed some wrong things in the past, or especially when it came to child abuse."
Oh, yes.
So
Well, that's not really fault finding. That's just fact finding.
right.
So there's a difference here, right? It's fact finding. And of course, we don't have toleration for such corrupted, toxic people, and there's not, you really have to limit your association with them. Maybe if you can see a transformation, they want to get better, they want to get cured, then maybe we can help them. But if there's no real interest to get better, then what can we do? Suggest they go on some forbidden island or something. Is that okay? Do we understand?
Yes.
Different.
Yeah. Yes, I understand, but I'm not sure exactly then how to categorize things as fault and categorize, which is obviously criminal activities.
Right. Well, that's why you have to have a justice system, right? And you have to have a system of retribution. You have to have a system where people are clearly have been found guilty of wrongdoings. They need to be put into an isolated place, such as prison. It depends on the severity of the case. And then there are people who are going to be looking at these issues and deciding how severe is it? How terrible is it? You sometimes hear some people not young anymore, but they talk about the abuses they went through on a incestual level, for instance, or from a parent or an uncle or an overbearing mother. All kinds of stuff goes on, and their lives are scarred for life. And we have to feel for them, and we don't want that to happen. As it shouldn't happen very frequently, if at all. A no tolerance attitude. Right? So we do have to, if there is some kind of accusation against someone, especially in the community dynamics, it's important to investigate and have a system in place, right? And there are some people who are criminals, and their criminality started when they were young. It came from the generation before, a lot of times, right? So it's very deeply entrenched into the hearts of some persons. And we have to, in order to protect others, we have to do diligence. I always think of the time in the novel that you read, and I think that we read it in Canada now, To Kill a Mockingbird by Lee Harper. And the rabbit dog was coming out and was a threat to the children in the neighborhood. So Atticus, that sort of hero in the story, he took out his shotgun and he just took the liberty to kill the damaged dog, And so he was like a rabid dog, rabies, right? And so when one is in a position to correct, do that. And if we see wicked things done, evil, we have to do something about it. We have to report. And if you don't report and you see something wrong, then you're guilty. You're almost like an accomplice. You can't just be sitting on the fence, but rather, take some action. Don't keep your mouth closed, open up, and go in the right direction with these particular issues. Thank you, Vaishnavi, for bringing it up. Is there anybody else who wants to say something about this? This kind of
I have a question.
Sure.
On this topic of fault finding, when somebody is finding fault with somebody else, with you, when speaking to you, how do you diplomatically come out of it, avoiding it, without offending the person?
What was the question in the end? Sorry.
When somebody is engaging in fault finding, how do
Yeah.
you diplomatically come out of it without offending that person?
Oh, I see. Well, yeah, I think we've all been in certain situations. And I think sometimes people are justified and if they want to get something off their chest and say, I've seen some things, it's not right, and something should be done about it, that's one thing. But if somebody's on a roll with fault finding, like it's a continuous, they see it as a service, I think sometimes you can be blunt. Listen, I don't want to go there. Maybe that's the softest way to, I don't want to talk about these things. Let's talk about Prabhupada. Let's talk about Krishna. Yeah. When Prabhupada met with his Guru Maharaj, he was following Gandhi, and clearly the mandate by Gandhian followers, let's get the British out of India. And when Prabhupada made that statement to Bhaktisiddhanta, he said, in order for us to enjoy the freedom of our Dharma, I'm just paraphrasing, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, his message, then we have to take some social political actions first, get the British out. And then Bhaktisiddhanta's response was, sharing Chaitanya's message it's not dependent on any political adjustments. And because politics are going to happen all the time, you just have to go forward and keep moving forward with your obligations, and you can't just be dependent on these other political arrangements. One has to just go ahead because any political toxicity that goes on, it will be replaced by something else, even if you solve this problem or that problem. A new one will come up because that's the nature of the material world, isn't it?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Tukaliyama Shashvatam, and there's no end to it. There's just the elections happened, right? And you just the decision was made. Well, accept it. Try to work with the best to make the best deal of a bad bargain. But what is it like that? You may buy something you're not fairly happy with the product, but you've got it now. You paid for it. Let's move ahead and do the best you can in the circumstances that you're in. Otherwise, you're just on an endless battle, fighting all the time. When are you going to stop fighting? And when are you going to start doing? You want a perfect world? Well, work on yourself, and you just might end up in the perfect world. But don't tried to do the impossible here. But heaven isn't here. So it says buyer's remorse. You won't find heaven here. It's just not going to be. Stop dreaming. Who was it that's saying, dream, 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 dream? You might as well sing that song. Dream. Row, row, row you boat gently down the stream. Merrily, 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 merrily. Life is but a dream. So, you're not going to get any like real purity or perfection here in this world. It's imperfect. Let's get it right. I'm sorry if that hurts the feelings of perfectionists. I think even perfectionists are mature. They can be. Some people have that sort of make that everything has to be just perfect, but they realize, well, at some point you have to just let it go. Just produce your product, manufacture your goods, put it out there, your presentation, and just hope for the best. That's all you got to do. You have to work within time constraints, and that's it. The election is over. That's it. There was a Dutch couple. I'm not talking about our divine Dutch couple here. They were on the internet and they were just saying, well, we don't understand American politics because if someone's convicted of certain crimes, how can they be in the highest office, political office, What can you say about that? There might be some truth to it, but the die was cast, the election was done, and hope for the best. People are certainly lacking discretion and discrimination. They don't know who to vote for. They don't. Sometimes you have to work with the best you got, the best of the lot. I mean, almost everyone's crooked in the political field, lying like through their teeth, making promises and then not keeping those promises. Oh, gee, it's so rampant. It's so full of Kali Yuga. Because there's no real moral standards. That's really the problem. Thank you. Anybody else have something you want to say? It's a juicy topic, isn't it?
Can I say something, Maharaj?
Si, senor.
So in the verse it was saying that like the Brahmana performs animal sacrifice, but I don't see no Brahmanas performing any animal sacrifice, at least not right now.
No, we're talking about other yugas. They would do animal sacrifices like horse sacrifice, cow sacrifice. They did these things, but a new rejuvenated body would come out of the sacrifice right before everyone's eyes, Like if an animal's forced into fire, like an older animal, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu talks about this to the Muslim leader Chand Kazi. And an animal is forced like a horse, an old horse, and out comes a beautiful horse out of that same fire. So that those are kind of the magical things that you would see in bygone ages, like in Treta Yuga and other ages. But that's not the current scenario. Prabhupada's not talking about that here. Animal sacrifices. He's referencing very ancient times. Is that okay? But I would just say, if you see a Brahmin, sacrificing an animal, please report it to someone over there. Report it to your GBC man over there. Ramia, report it to Ramia. All right. Anything else on this, Prabhu's? Have you ever seen that before, where fire is covered by smoke? Like fire is such a piercing element, you can see it from miles away, but the smoke is so dense that it can cover your flames.
Yeah, Maharaj, I think you know, there's a difference between like fault finding purely to tear somebody down, going to what you were saying earlier, versus sort of constructive criticism, or protecting. In the case of the criminal activity, protection of people that are being hurt. So you could categorize it into different kinds, and so I think the admonition against fault finding is really against sort of tearing down other people, just finding fault just to put them down,
Yeah,
as opposed to saying, well, you did good, but you could maybe improve this, or you could do this better, or like and an honest person always takes their mistakes as a opportunity to learn and improve.
right.
And there's always going to be more mistakes, but you're always in the process of making those mistakes, or you're always looking how to improve,
Mhm.
And learn from things. So that's just my comment. And it kind of goes to this verse too about how there's always going to be fault in everything we do.
Mhm.
But the fault is actually also an opportunity to learn.
Yes, I appreciate your take on it. And also, I was thinking you're going to speak more in legal terms because you're a lawyer.
Well, certainly in my profession, we make a bad legal argument, or you did something foolish in an oral argument, you learn from that. You learn from that mistake.
Mhm. Yeah, and Prabhupada talks about the different classes of people. Let's say you talk about let's look at three different kinds of people, and they all heard the same lesson. That okay, these are the rules you have to follow. If you break the rules, there will be some punishment. You'll get a summons or whatever, or prison. So there's those persons who hear about proper behavior and they stick by that rule. They just avoid, getting themselves into trouble. There's a second class of person who's heard the same message and says, well, I think I'll just try. I'll just kind of like break the law, like bend the rules a little bit. It's not going to be too harmful. And so then they get sort of chastised and they get, their proper, dues. And so then they learn, oh yeah, I'm not going to do that one again. I got burned. So I'm just not going to do this again. And then there's a third kind of person. They're just habituated individuals that want to break the law. They don't see any, why should I follow anybody? They're just highly independent. So you got those three different kinds of mentalities. The top one is obviously somebody in the mode of goodness. Second one is somebody kind of more or less in the rajas passion. And the third one is just a person who's just a scumbag.
Or just foolish. You just put your hand in the fire again and again, even if you get
Yeah.
burned. And
Just a foolish person. Absolutely. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Anything else there that somebody did leave a message there? Arjuna, you said something about fault finding as opposed to negative fault finding. Can you help us with that one? Dhanraj, nice to have you with us.
Maharaj, this is Arjuna Sak. I think he's in college. He said like if you can maybe like clarify the difference between fault finding and negative fact finding. I don't understand.
Okay, negative fault find, negative fact finding. Well, when you're trying to fact find on something negative, it's not negative. It's positive. It's just trying to clean up something that's wrong. And so that has to be done. There are certain people who are good at that kind of services to humanity, and we have to let them do their work. You know, whether it's lawyers or police or people, they have that's almost like a thankless task to execute. But they're necessary, and they're part of the Varnashram scheme, right? Part of the Varnashram structure. These people who do this fact finding has to be done. You know why? Because if you've done somebody's done something wrong or said something wrong, they want to hide it, or they don't feel there's anything wrong with what they've executed. And some people oftentimes just forget what they did. Some people are unaware of the mistakes they make. And so somebody has to come along and correct them. Hopefully it doesn't have to go to the courtroom, but somebody has to be there to do this kind of stuff. I think we're just talking about the chronic fault finders. The people are just negative. They have nothing positive to say. I was with somebody a few days ago, and I was with them for a good hour and a half. And they were pretty quiet and silent. And then, yeah, we came out at the airport, and the weather was a little bit on the cool side. So the person just made a remark, "Oh, this weather's so hellish." And I didn't say anything. I just ignored it and said, "You know, it's in the morning. Can you say something a little positive, something bright, to help me raise the consciousness of humanity?" Another time I was in a shop, a little bit in the North Country, where cottage industry is cottage country, where people have nice homes and all this stuff. And it was fairly early in the morning, and I was just looking around at some of the products in this kind of convenience store. And somebody came in and just said to the clerk, he says, "Good morning." And then his answer was, "What's so good about it?" And I just couldn't handle that negativity. And I just, on the other end of the room, the store, I just said, "It's all good." And the guy just got shocked, first of all, I'm in my monk's clothes, and he didn't expect to get an answer like that. It was a slap in the face for him, but I think he deserved it. Like, honestly, people have no business shooting their mouth out, being negative all the time. And one of my dear friends, his name was, it escapes me now. I've got a senior moment. He was quite a really good motivational speaker. He'd prefer that I use his name even though I think about it. But I asked him once, "What do you do with negative people?" Because we do have them in our movement. Like, it doesn't matter where you are, whatever circle, any community, they are there. And here's how he answered it. He said, "Well, if they're in an internal circle, it's good to get them out of it, out of the circle." His remark was, it's very difficult to deal with negative people, but if they're in the inner circle, in the core, try to get them out of the core. Try to get them out of your association, because it's like a malignant disease. It's like a cancer just to have them around. The poison is very thick and rich with poison. And we don't need that. We don't need it. There's already enough negativity. Why do you have to lay it on real thick? Say something light and bright, and let's get on with life, for God's sakes. Say, Prabhupada was an optimist. He had good reason to find fault, and he did that from time to time, but more or less he was an optimist, and he just moved forward regardless of the obstacle course that he was on. Because as long as you're here in this world, it is an obstacle course.
Can I say something short, Maharaj?
Yes, please.
I would say that when we are engaged in service, then it's very difficult to fall back into fault finding. So we are either moving forward or we are falling backward. But when we are idle, our minds are always looking to find something to get engaged in. So they always find it easy to go back into fault finding. But as long as we are engaged in positive, humble service, then we'll never fall back into that. So thank you.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful, nicely said. Um, I think that some people, one of you was saying that to find fault is just to cut somebody down. I forget the phrase that was used. But usually it's just out of envy. I think that's if you want to identify the sinful seed, it's envy, jealousy. When some people are constantly putting down someone else, it usually means they actually have good qualities, and you just can't handle it. Why do they have so much and I don't have it? So they want to bring down that individual and just chop them down, with a cleaver or with a axe, when they should be putting the axe on themselves. Yeah, I think it's just jealousy, and jealousy is just not a good feature to have in your character. Just shows incredible weakness, and it means that you have to go through a little bit more, let's say, purging. If you want to go back to Godhead, you got to work on that one really hard. Yeah, good. Any other comments on this? I think it was beautiful. I like this. I like the verse. I told you that in the beginning. I still like it. I'm liking it better as we're talking about.
It's so funny that you said that. One time when I was living in Krishna house, there's devotee, I forgot his name, but he was like right next to the temple, and I said good morning to him. I said Hare Krishna, good morning, bro. And he said, "There's nothing good about this morning." And I don't remember what I said to him, but I said maybe not for you, but for me, I'm going to Mangalarti.
Oh,
I just left, but
good.
yeah, I think I got an argument with him, but they told me that he got banned from like every temple, which is
Oh,
not a good thing.
yeah, that's
But
what leaders have to do. They have to be very discreet and they have to protect the community from, not just people do physical harm, but kind of like mental harm, psychological harm. Again, you have to poison. Like in the Ramayana, the story of Mantara, she was like a poison. So get her out of this place. And but it was already too late. Arjun, I just had a question for you. You were driving already. Are you still driving? Because how do you do with one hand and the other hand is only?
there's so much there's so much traffic here that you got chance to do so many things. But no, I got here like 20 after, so.
Okay, all right. So you were driving, you're not anymore. Because I was just going to give you a word of caution, like constructive criticism. Keep your hands on the wheels. All right. Anything else, Prabhus, that you would like to express in regards to this topic? Buyer's remorse. I like that term by Ananta Shesh. It's really appropriate. You just don't get a real good deal in this world. It's just kind of like that. It's just the way the world is. And Prabhupada talks about when he was young, he wasn't yet married and he had someone in mind. And his father was kind of discouraging him from pursuing this one particular lady. And he was proposing someone else. And Prabhupada was trying to understand this logic, Well, I kind of have this crush on this lady, and but Prabhupada was hearing from his own dad that well, maybe you should just consider this other girl, because really, his father was always into the most priority thing in your life is to make spiritual advancement. And if you get too attached to a particular individual, then it'll be hard for your spiritual advancement. Yeah, so I say that because nobody's perfect, and even the beautiful, woman or the beautiful man, you'll find faults in them usually real fast. Okay, I think what we can do is, unless if there's someone who has something they want to say, we can just go for the racial takeaway. All right, so, oh, did you want to say something, Dharma? You have to unmute yourself. We see your beautiful lips moving up and down, but we don't know what you're saying.
Sorry, sorry, Maharaja. So, my question is, when somebody is strict with certain process and procedures in any place, they try to enforce it. Would the other person consider it as fault finding?
Could you just say that you're breaking up a little bit? Just
So you say there is, if someone is trying to enforce a procedure, which needs to be, followed for some, would you treat that as a negative thing, when they
sometimes if you're in a leadership position, sometimes you have to be very firm with some people. It depends on the severity of the case, right? If someone needs to be corrected, yeah, sometimes you need, like what we do sometimes with our management team here, if we need kind of like a Kshatriya, kind of person whose voice gets a little loud, and I just, it is fairly good at intimidating to some degree. Like when it needs to be done, we'll call on that person. By the way, Peru, we're going to need you. We're dealing with a rough character. So sometimes that's necessary, but depends on the case, Devotees tend to be very soft, when it comes to like what Vaishnavi brought up, about child abuse. This is kind of unacceptable on practically any level. And it's very hard to see someone who's got those habitual traits to back down and to have regret. It's very hard, very hard.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so it depends on the situation, but sometimes, in management scenarios, you just might have to bring in somebody from the team that can do the job nicely to speak on behalf of the group. I don't know if that's relevant to you or not, but
It's a general question, actually.
Yeah, wherever there's going to be a group of people, somebody's going to be a little bit loose and, let's say, creating a disturbance. So it's always good to have, people who are watchdogs, if I could use that term. Managers are really meant to keep an eye on things, to look out for what could harm children, look out for someone who's talking to everyone with a sour puss face. These are like symptoms that would indicate, it's good to investigate right away and see what's going on. And if it's discovered like right off, as early as you can, just try to move these people and discourage them from coming around with their contaminations. As time passes, you can always give somebody a second chance, but you really have to screen them. Really have to screen them. And in a spiritual community, when we do have, sometimes we're confronted with very difficult things that are on the level of criminality, then it's important to just call the authorities. Sometimes devotees cannot handle it. So they bring in the guys, you know, who are a little taller than you are. They're a little built a little better than you are. And they have a certain stride, a certain vibration. They're uniformed people. They come and it just sometimes does the trick.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
When Parashuram came in on the scene, like a lot of these Kshatriya types, they says, let's get out of here. And Prabhupada explains that, like in the Vedic times, that's where there was a lot mass migration happened during the time of Parashuram because he was so intimidating. And if you actually had a record or you have a, you know, let's say a pattern of doing wrong, then you would just kind of just get away, get out of there and move fast, go remote. Yeah. All right, so that was another question. We practically don't have much time to. Any other last remarks? Okay, anybody who would like to just repeat something they heard? Give us four. Well, maybe have 3 or 4 of you say something. How's that?
I'll say something.
Okay.
No animal sacrifice. And if you see something, report it to the GBC.
Okay, sure, no problem. And if you see somebody who's behind the wheel and they're not putting their hands on the wheel, then we'll do. Report that too. I'm just joking. Now you can have cars, you know, with don't require a driver. Wow. Arjun Saka, is that you got a message? You joined us.
I'm not sure if he can, I think he is in a college or class, so he will not be able to say anything.
Oh, that could be. He's in Alberta. I think that's the one we're talking about. So did anybody catch the message?
I can read it if you want, Maharaj.
Yeah, please. Because I don't want phone doesn't do that.
He says, in shadows cast by doubt, we seek flaws, no doubt. But in each heart there's a light. Let's find the good and do not fight.
Yeah. Oh, poetical. Yeah, he's a poet. Yeah. So yeah, beautiful. Yeah. Generally, if you just find the good in everything, then it creates a sort of atmosphere. And then when someone comes in with a negative insertion, it just stands out like it becomes so obvious that there's something not right with that guy, you know. So, but if the atmosphere is kind of toxic on a regular basis, then it's hard to distinguish between good and bad, right? So let's work towards that. Create a nice, healthy atmosphere, and just always make sure that there's somebody on the ground that's kind of like poking around, like a Sherlock Holmes, you know, investigating, just making sure everybody's, you know, you're staying very optimistic. If somebody's coming with some poison, you have to know when the snake comes in, right? When the serpent starts to slither its way in. You have to have some of those types there. That's why actually security is really important. Really, they play a major job in protecting people. So, Peruz, I want to thank you very much. It's 6 o'clock according to my watch. And next week, on Thursday, I'm going to Halifax. But to my knowledge, it's in the morning, so we should be able to, you know, tag along with you all. Okay? So,
Jai.
Thank you very
Jai.
much.
Krishna.
Let's say, okay, I was something I had to. Arjun, can I just talk to you when you get a chance? By
Sure.
the way,
Whenever you
I am going to Alachua. I am going to Florida next month, early in Jan. Dhanraj, you're living where?
I'm in Toronto, Maharaj.
Oh, you're in Toronto. I thought you were east of us. Okay, who else do I need? And of course, I'm going to Amsterdam to see 3 lovely devotees up there in February before hitting to India. And but this is to let you know, we're performing our drama, The Age of Kali, in Mayapur, and we're also performing that another play in the Singhachalam in South India, Singhachalam, in a big place. So we're going to be busy, and I don't go to meetings, and I just get to work on I just get to play.
Oh, Jai.
Jai.
All right. Somebody has to go to the meetings, though.
Maharaj, you should post your schedule on the, or tell your assistant to post your schedule. So whoever is in those cities or those countries, they can avail of your association or meet
we're
you.
a little behind in that one. And thank you. It has to be done. Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Jai. Love you all. Hare Krishna. Merry
Thank
Christmas.
Jai Shri Christmas.
Merry Krishnas.
Jai Shri Christmas. Jai Shri Christmas.
Jai.